You know, I told you this would happen, chums. I said this wouldn't be long, didn't I? I warned you, right? I just knew this was coming because consequently, as I've often said, the problem that you have with the likes of Meghan and Harry, perpetual liars who in their own mind are telling the truth, but the reality is it's totally different. Well, the reality has now happened, and this is now what's going to start leaking out on a more regular basis. Over here in the United Kingdom, I find this incredible, in fact, Spitting Image, which is now online, very, very funny show, could be a lot sharper, I would believe, with sort of, you know, a little bit better writing, but the puppets are brilliant as ever. Well, apparently Meghan Markle finds this particular puppet distressing, and you just think, look, they made puppets of some major famous people. Many got the opportunity to buy their puppet, if you remember, and you know, it's one of those things, it was a badge of honour if Spitting Image decided to deride you. Meghan, no, no, no. And I didn't know this, that the company behind the relaunched Spitting Image also wondered if Meghan wouldn't mind offering her own voice. That would have shown a bit of class. That would have shown that you can absolutely make fun of yourself. But that's not Meghan's way, right? What's interesting though, as I told you recently, well, the husband, Trevor, let me explain. Hi, good to see you, chums. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome, one and all brand new subscribers. By the way, somebody was telling me this and I want to share this with you because we're friends, I'm allowed to. The thing is, sardines, where do you stand on those? Do you still like them or not? You know, I'm not so sure. I look at it and think, do I like sardines? I'm not, But the thing is, they're a good source, aren't they, of protein and all that sort of stuff. More importantly, what you have to think about is they're economically cheap. And I was reading the other day that during the war, well, many people lived on them. That and spam fritters. Do you remember those? Do you still like those? Oh yes, do let me know. Yes, it's good to share these. I often think the simpler recipes were a lot better for us. You know what I'm saying? The simpler times might have been better, of course, for Meghan Markle. Here's where this gets particularly interesting, in my opinion, right? Simply because if you are Meghan Markle, as I've often said, the past can catch up with you. And we already know exactly what went on with her very first wedding to Trevor Engelson, the respected film director. What I like about Trevor is he's done well, right? 100%, he's absolutely done well. Not only has he done well, he's kept to, you know, a civil head. He could have made millions selling his story about his time with Meghan, no two ways about it. But he didn't. He made sure that he kept his counsel, and now he's got a very firm and happy life. But of course, you know, he doesn't necessarily want it to be associated. And I can understand this with this catalyst of negativity. Meghan and Harry are just 100%, well, a negative story. And because of his association are brought into that. As I told you recently, I was told from an excellent source that Trevor got on very well with her family. You know, it was kind of a bit of a shock to him. And you have to sort of send your heart out to him because ultimately we only really have the sort of bits that come out. Nobody knows the full story. And as I said, Trevor was offered a lot of money. He could have been a multi-millionaire on the back of this story alone, so he has class. However, he's not afraid to share these bon mots. What I like about this is I think I stand with Trevor on this because clearly, you know, you've got Meghan's version of life and now his version of it. Now, remember, go back to this particular event. Remember, this was when Meghan and Harry famously, if you recall, went out to some charitable do, and Meghan sort of shocked everybody because I think it was a sort of health workers, ladies of the night type thing. And suddenly Meghan shocked a lot of people inside the palace walls by suddenly writing on bananas. Right? And do you remember those ridiculous messages? You are loved, you are valid, you are wanted. Prince Harry, I mean, fairness, Prince Harry did look as if, oh goodness, you know, how's this going to go down? A little bit of a hippie-chicky thing, you know. And as ever, and this was where the Queen got kind of upset and angry, because Meghan had made this whole thing about herself. I mean, we now know this is replication after replication. But the thing was, Meghan had decided that she was going to share everything, and that story became about Meghan writing on bananas. The charity was pushed right off. It's a little bit like the Kris Jenner party. Everybody talks about the pictures, the deletion, the giving, the back. You know, nobody talks about the party. And when you think about Jeff Bezos, who was very generous in putting that party together, even though it's simply a networking event, make no mistake of that, well, that's where you're at. According to an excellent source, though, no, once again, no originality with Meghan, because, and this is an excellent source, right, Trevor? The thing is, apparently Meghan used to write very regularly on bananas when she was disappearing, for instance, if she was going on a shoot or filming, leaving a banana for her Trevor, whatever she called him, to basically show him how much she missed him, loved and adored him. And it makes perfect sense now as to where we are when you hear the story about Meghan Markle and, of course, trying to lure Prince Harry, and with the revelation that did, of course, or would she close the deal. And very openly, it became very apparent, according to that source, that, Meghan would close the deal. Even the pictures that you see with Harry and Meghan in the black and white photo booth were replicated and borrowed, first time around with Trevor, of course, borrowed from John Lennon and Yoko Ono, if you remember those sort of things. There is simply not a shred of originality. And as these things keep coming back, as I say, to haunt Meghan, and they are going to keep haunting her because now the barriers are down. She really has nowhere to turn, in the sense of that there's going to be one or two protectors, but really it's about whether Harry wants to spend even more money, whether he wants to focus, of course, on the charitable life that he really wants to do, or indeed carry on protecting a wife who he has no idea about. Remember, Prince Harry was warned by everybody, get to know her a little better. She didn't want him near the father. That would have been the first alarm bells. At least Trevor got to meet the father and apparently learned quite a little bit about the way that he should deal with Meghan. But even that sage advice from, of course, Thomas Markle could not stop the rot of what was going to happen. You see what I'm saying? So behind the scenes, if you think that this, as I say, with Meghan is going to go away, she is literally going to start going, coining a phrase here, chums, bananas, when she realises that absolutely whatever she thought, her past is now catching up. And one of the worst people that she didn't want ever to start to reveal things bit by bit, these little nuggets which shape, of course, exactly where she was looking, where she was hoping to go with Prince Harry, are now literally wide open. As ever, it's a developing story. Neil Sean, Kensington, London.